We're here at the Hawthorns today with Brendon Batson, who made 163 appearances and scored 6 goals for Cambridge United, spending 4 years at the Abbey. He also captained the side to the 4th Division Championship. So, Brendon, had you heard of Cambridge United prior to joining the club in 1974? Was there other alternatives to clubs interested in signing you when you left Arsenal?
I found out afterwards that they were, but Cambridge United were the first ones to come in for me because I knew Ray Freeman. I'd met Ray in Norway when I was at Arsenal on a pre-season tour, and I think I was so delighted that somebody was interested in signing me. I didn't care who it was; it just happened to be Cambridge United, so I jumped at the chance.
Okay, brilliant. Obviously when you arrived at the Abbey, what was your first impressions of Cambridge United as a football club?
I didn't know too much about Cambridge United. I liked the place. I remember driving through, and I quite liked the idea of being in and around the city. But I knew very little about the history of Cambridge United. But as I say, I was just so delighted that I was going to be in somebody's first team. Yeah. Having not made my way at Arsenal, I was just pleased to be there. And
do you still recall a standout moment from the 76-77 championship winning campaign, which you obviously captained for the years?
Standout moment?
Yeah.
Not really. I think the whole campaign, because Ron Atkinson had arrived the season we got relegated. He was like a breath of fresh air. I'd never come across a manager like that, because my manager before was Bertie Mee, who was a bit of a distant manager, tracksuit, but distant, had left everything to his coaching staff. Ron was in your face, in amongst the players, even at the back of the coach playing cards with us, which was unheard of. So I think he had an immediate impact, and we just missed out on being in a promotion place. I think we got beaten at Swansea away, and we seemed to fall away after that. Great expectations for the following season, and we were a huge disappointment. I think he'd wheeled and dealed for the following season, and everything just seemed to fall into place.
Everything kind of clicked.
And it clicked, and not only as on the playing side, but amongst the players themselves. There's a good dynamic in the dressing room. There's lots of us who are young, free transfers, then we had a couple of senior players, and it just seemed to gel.
Do you think that's the ingredients for a promotion-winning team, having a good dynamic in the dressing room?
Oh, you need some good players as well.
Yeah,
there was a really good attitude. I mean, I can remember, just call out one player in particular, well, 2 players in particular, Steve Spriggs and Alan Biley. Mm-hmm. I mean, Steve Spriggs was like 5'0", but a heart of a lion, and he just never stopped running throughout the course of the 90 minutes. And Alan Biley, people say that his first touch wasn't that good, but normally his first touch was in the back of the net. And I think he scored us literally 30 goals a season for a couple of years. And they helped us get promotion and got us to the top of the division the following season.
Okay, so Big Ron is obviously sat in the room behind us. So what was Big Ron like as a manager? You've kind of answered that one for us already, but if you just want to elaborate a bit maybe?
No, he was hopeless, but the players made him into a good manager, really, But no, I think with Ron, as I say, I'd never met a manager like that. He was only my 3rd manager, because I had Bertie Mee, Bill Levers, bless him, and then Ron came along. And the thing with Ron, as I say, he was almost like a player. Yeah. He thought he was a decent player, but he wasn't, trust me. So we had to get used to his style, but I think all of us recognised that he was very ambitious. And I felt personally that if I could sort of hold on to his shirt tails, I think we could go places. But I think that was the case with a lot of the lads who were given free transfers, small money buys. They realised that we had a chance with this manager. And the assistant manager was John Doherty. They were a good pairing together, and as I say, it just seemed to click. And we had people at both ends. One of his best signings, in actual fact, was Dave Stringer from Norwich, who brought a very, very professional attitude into the dressing room. I mean, I was skipper, but I was absolutely terrified of Dave Stringer. If I did anything wrong, you just knew he was staring at you. So he was a terrific signing.
And how did Ron's kind of training regimes compare to previous managers you played under Bertie and Bill Levers, for instance?
Well, the coach at Arsenal was Don Howe, who was a tremendous coach. Excellent in terms of organisation and defensive play. Mm-hmm. He came here to West Brom. Some of the criticisms I know from some of the lads I played with was that attacking-wise, he wasn't that good, but defensively he was excellent. I think Ron's attitude was one of, hey, you want to excite the crowd, you've got to go forward, you've got to win, put on a performance, because he used to say if he's bored, he knows the crowd are being bored as well. So I think he gave us a freedom, even at that level, where organisation was a big thing. And we had some very, very good players on the ball. Willie Watson always springs to mind. Couldn't tackle a fish supper, but had a wonderful left foot and a great character both on and off the field. So I think Ron gave us the license to be ourselves. We had to do the right things, and let's say on the pitch we had someone like Dave Stringer who kept us all in check as young players, and we were on our way.
Obviously, you followed Big Ron over here to West Brom. Obviously, he stole you from Cambridge United for peanuts, we might as well say. How did West Brom compare to here, and how did you find settling into a different club straight after, and obviously with Big Ron?
Well, I think the bit of advice Ron gave me was when I signed was, you're joining a very professional bunch here, and you've got to be on your game. And that was true. Every word was true, because I came here and what a professional bunch of players. I thought we were very professional, and we were, but at a slightly different level. And took me a few games to settle in. I won't talk about my first 2 appearances, but perversely, the thing that helped me was I was getting beaten in the semi-final against Ipswich. And I think we got hammered the following game, and then the next game, midweek game, we were having breakfast at the hotel we were staying at. Ron, Colin Addison, he didn't tell me I was playing, he just said to me, it's now or never, Batman. Had breakfast and I knew I was going to be in the side, and that spurred me on. But I joined a very, very good team as well. Okay. Some really good players.
And what would you say is your biggest achievement in your career involved in the game?
I think if you make it into the ranks and you've got a prefix professional, you've done well. I don't care what level you're at. Mm-hmm. Everybody finds a level. But I think if you've got the moniker that says you're a professional footballer, I think you've done really well in your profession, because the attrition rate is so high within the game. You know, even now, 75-80% of boys who start at 16 out of the game by the time they're 21. So I think if you make it in the professional ranks, you've done well, and I'm very pleased that I've had a career. I've been very lucky coming from the Caribbean and never having seen football until I arrived in England to having a professional career.
Yeah, it's quite impressive, isn't it? I remember reading as well that when you was at school, your teacher said you're probably better at cricket than football.
After my first trial match at my school in Tilbury as a 9-year-old, didn't have any football boots. I think I played in white plimsolls in actual fact. And he didn't want to know me the second trial, but I think he saw me, I was about to burst into tears, and he took a picture of me, and
the rest is history, as they say.
I'd like to think so.
So after you retired from football, you became involved in the PFA. How did that come about, and what was your role entailing with the PFA?
Well, when I signed for Cambridge United, I knew nothing about the profession I was working in, and I decided I wanted to learn about the profession I was working in. Joined Cambridge United. The PFA delegate is a delegate at each club. Was Graham Smith, the goalkeeper, smudger. And I said to him, we were chatting, and he said, would you be interested in it? I said, yeah, I would be. So I became the delegate at Cambridge, and it's a very exciting time for the PFA because we were approaching freedom of contract, which we achieved in 1978. It's a precursor to the Bosman ruling. That goes back to 78. When I came to West Brom, I immediately found out who the delegate was, which was John Wilder, skipper. And I said to him, look, I've been a delegate at Cambridge, I like the job, would you mind? Yeah. He was very happy to get rid of it, in actual fact. And so I took it on. Okay. And I got approached by Gordon Taylor. I got co-opted onto the management committee in 1981, I think it was. Gordon had taken over from Cliff Lloyd as its secretary. And we formed a really good friendship. I was on the management committee. I retired in 84, and he asked me to come and join him because he had ambitions and a vision to expand the PFA and make a very important sporting body, which he has achieved.
Obviously, as well as the PFA, you've done a lot of work in helping kick racism out of football. How do you think that the modern game is comparing in terms of how it was in the 80s? Obviously, there is still some racism we hear about nowadays in the Premier League, for instance, with fans. Do you think that it's got better over time? Do you think it will ever stop?
I don't think it'll ever stop. It's on the rise again, sadly, not just in football, but across the world, really. You know, I think fascism is on the rise. The difference is the volume isn't as intense and as loud as it was back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. It seems strange that it took till 93 to have a national campaign kick it out, which a PFA, along with, he's now Lord Ousley, it was his vision to use football as a means of addressing the issue of racism. He was CEO of the Commission for Racial Equality, so CRE. So sadly, I think it's just bubbling under the surface. It breaks out every now and again. I never believed that those people who delighted in chanting racist abuse of black players have gone away entirely. They lost a bit of a voice, but it's on the rise again, and which is very, very sad. And you can't be complacent. You just got to keep on top of it.
Yeah, keep on top, and hopefully we can cut it out. So, if you had a time capsule, you could go back and start your career again. Is there anything you'd do differently?
I'd like to think I wouldn't get beaten in the semi-finals. We played in, it's a two-legged one. We were here, played in 3 semi-finals, you can call it, that year. Never scored a goal. So we never gave ourselves a chance of getting to a final. And everybody, I know the cup has lost a bit of its gloss, but during my time, it was something that you just wanted to walk out of Wembley and compete for the cup. The semi-final, I think, is one of the saddest games to lose, and it was one of the most disappointing games I played in. In actual fact, Ron rang me the morning after the semi-final defeat against QPR, and he said, "Hey, Batman," he said, "it's a lot better than losing to Leatherhead in the 3rd round." Something like that. We lost to Leatherhead in the 3rd round, and he had a lad called Chris Kelly, the Leatherhead Lip, who boasted every season they're going to knock out a club, and he knocked Cambridge United out at their place. So yes, if I had my time again, I'd love to play in the cup final. So
if you could change one thing about the modern game, what would it be?
The current one is VAR at the moment, isn't it? I mean, I think VAR's it's one of those, you want to get the right outcome, and everything has to settle down. But at the moment, I think is taking the life out of the game. You know, everybody, the doomsayers were saying, you know, people won't be able to celebrate, and I thought, no, that won't happen. But that's exactly what's happening at the moment. Yeah. And it's sad to see that they haven't got it. They haven't got it quite right. Yeah. And I don't see why they don't make a brave decision and say, you know what, let's go back to the drawing board, iron out all the kinks, and then start again. But at the moment, they're carrying on, and I think it's spoiling the game as a spectacle.
Definitely. And do you still attend games here at the Hawthorn? Are you still involved here?
Yes, I do. I come when I can. I am president of our All Boys Association, which I helped set up with Graham Williams, the last skipper to lift the FA Cup back in '68. And we've got about 150 members, and we've got a really good thing going. We've got our own box, which is the Regis Suite. There's only one box I was interested in getting here, and sadly, Cyril's no longer with us, but every time we go in the box, we remember him.
That's nice. So final question is, who's the best player you have played alongside, and who's been the toughest player you've played against?
I'll do it in reverse. Tough players, I wasn't that bothered. I loved competing. The only thing I'll say is that John Robertson gave me the worst 45 minutes of my life down at the base at Nottingham, and I'll never forget that first 45 minutes. But I think in terms of the best player I played with had to be Brian Robson, because I think for one season here is the best he's ever played. I mean, he had a great career at Man United, but for one season here, that 78-79 season, and the season after that, in actual fact, he was so influential in both boxes. You know, he was great at defending, leading the charge. He could win it, he could pass it, and he could score goals.
A good box.
A tremendous player. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your time.